Hey everybody, welcome back to the Half Hour of Power. I am Joe. Brandon is here.
Yo, yo, Joe. What do you know?
Hey Brandon, this has been a long time coming. We've been preparing for this all year, have we not? I'm pretty excited
Yes,
about
we
this. How
have.
about you, sir?
I am thrilled because this is a massive undertaking. Oh, a massive undertaking for, this Mary Shelley Frankenstein. It's really hard to find movies that kind of match with the book.
Yeah, so last October we did Dracula all October, and we were primarily doing the movies that were telling the story of the book.
Yes.
And we didn't even do all of those, did we? There was a couple we didn't do
Yeah,
that
it
were
was a couple
trying to
that we
tell the
missed.
story of
Yeah.
the book that we were like, we'll get to those. And in particular, I believe it was the Hungarian version we didn't get to.
The
And
Turkish version.
the Turkey, you watched that one, right?
Yes.
Okay, I still haven't watched that one. And there was one more, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, I think it was another foreign one. I can't remember which one it was though.
Yeah, so we'll go back through our list and find out. But we were had a lot of fun doing that. A lot of fun with
Oh
that.
yeah, I
So,
enjoyed it.
you know, the next one we thought would be, Frankenstein, because it's got a lot of movies also.
Yeah, a ton of movies.
And I'm not so sure that they tried to tell the book in as many as they tried in Dracula, from what I found. How about you? Did you find something different?
Not much. I mean, I found that a lot of these movies that they always focus on the main thing, which of course is the monster, but it just they don't get to the I guess I should say the story of the mind of Victor Frankenstein. They they focus on him creating a monster and that's his passion that brings something to life, but they don't understand why, you know? So,
Yeah. So, I mean, you and I both went through the book
yep.
before starting. So, I've read the book before.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, I think this was my third time through the book, I think.
Okay.
It might have been my second time.
Well, it's my first
How about
time.
you? Is this
Yeah,
your
it's my
first
first.
time?
Yeah, it's my first time.
Well, since I can't remember if I've done this book three times, I'll say this was my second time through. And first time I read the book, and this time I did an audio book.
Yeah, I like the audio book.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, as we've discussed before, if you're doing a lot of driving, audio book is a really good option.
It really is. It really um, it sucks you in, and
Yeah.
it reawaking. I think I'm saying that right. Reawaking your imagination and you picturing, how things are going. And I got that the real when I was reading Dracula or listening to it.
Hmm.
And the same thing with Mary Shelley Frankenstein.
Yeah. So this one geez, this is, oh, this book. Oh my gosh. Oh no. Look what I've done. What is the
Uh
year
oh.
of the novel? I feel like I know this, but I'm going to be off by a year. So I'm going to look this up again. Do you remember the year the novel came out?
I want to say it was 1863.
Ouch. Really?
I think.
Now I
And I
know
know it
that.
was during the Victorian era.
Well, I know that's too late. I know that.
Is it too late?
Yeah, it is too late. So I've got the exact my I was going to say 1816,
Okay, okay.
but it actually was published in 1818.
1818.
Yeah.
Oh, 1863. Yeah, pretty far.
Yeah, that's what I mean, because I would always remember that in my head that Frankenstein book came out before the Dracula book. And
I thought it was the other way around, actually.
oh yeah, I mean it's weird to think about that. So I mean this was Mary Shelley
Hmm.
Of course, married to Percy Bysshe Shelley.
Right.
And we know the famous story about what how the novel was came about.
Right.
You know that? You know that, right?
Oh yeah, I know that. Yeah.
You
The
know that
the
now.
yeah.
If you didn't know
I
it before, you know it now because we were looking all that up. So this was that
yeah.
night spent in the house, whatever you want to call it, mansion, villa, um,
Abby.
castle, whatever you want to call the house. But it was a big house. So there was Mary Shelley, Percy Bysshe Shelley, Lord Byron, and Dr. John Polidori, and they were
Solidarity.
yes, they were telling some ghost stories, and out of one of those, John Polidori wrote a vampire story. I don't believe he finished his. I do have a copy of that, and I read that when I was in college.
Really?
Yeah, I do have that. It's in a collection of short vampire stories that I have.
Oh,
And
cool.
yeah, and I don't remember. Since I don't remember these, nothing must have came out of them. So nothing must have came out of what Lord Byron was writing, and what Percy was writing. Now, we are going to do this later on. We talked about, even though this isn't really a Frankenstein movie per se, but I just feel like we should do it,
Hmm.
is the movie Gothic. And
Yes.
you recently watched that, right?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, so that stars, do you remember who's in that? 'Cause that's got a great cast.
Yes, it had it blew my mind. Here's the messed up part. I knew two of the yeah, two of the two male actors. I knew who they were, and I was kind of blown back because I
Yeah.
never seen them. Well, I seen them, but never realized that that was them. But they was young and
Hmm.
way, way not like how they are today and acting like
Yeah.
one was in Harry Potter. I think he played.
Yeah. Yeah. So this one, this one came out in 1986.
Yeah, it was good.
This had Gabriel Byrne played Lord Byron.
Okay,
Natasha
okay.
Richardson played Mary Shelley. And we haven't mentioned this yet. Julian Sands played Percy. And as we know, Julian Sands recently passed away hiking.
Yeah,
That's very sad.
yeah,
Um,
it was.
we we miss Julian Sands. Um,
Yeah,
and Timothy Spall played Dr. Polidori.
he played
It's
that part really good. I'm not gonna lie.
yeah. Oh yeah, and we'll get more into it when we do the show, but that's directed by Ken Russell, who directed another movie that we're going to do that we've discussed doing. It's based on a Bram Stoker book called Lair of the White Worm.
Yes, I love that movie.
Yeah.
I really
So
love
he
that
did that
movie.
also. So I mean, I remember watching Gothic and it's like this is really I really enjoyed the heck out of that. So we're gonna go more into the story of how the novel was written, how the novel came about, rather, when we talk about that movie. But so here we are. We're going to do the first one. Our first selection for this is we're going far back, and I don't think we've done a movie this old before on the show. So this is a first for the
Yeah,
half
no, we
hour
haven't.
power.
We haven't done that. No,
A
we haven't.
first. Yeah. So we talk about a lot of movies, a lot of different time frames. We are going all the way back. We are digging really deep to
Real deep.
1910.
1910.
So we have done Nosferatu on here, and that was 1922. That was the first movie version of Bram Stoker's novel. So here we are doing the first Frankenstein movie, the first filmed version of the novel.
Yep.
Now, we're going to play the game, even though Rotten Tomatoes has let us down here of late. We talked about that on the last show, how disgusting they are. So now let us see. What do you think the critic score for Frankenstein, the 1910 Frankenstein is?
The 1910 Frankenstein. I don't think too many critics watched that movie. So, um, I'm gonna give it a low score for the critics. I'm gonna say 10.
You would be wrong, sir.
What? What they give it?
They gave it nothing because Rotten Tomatoes is a dirty, disgusting website that doesn't even have this movie on it. It is a foul, nasty, rotten website. So I've never certified Rotten Tomatoes as fresh, and now it will never be fresh. Because
Dang.
how do you not have Edison's Frankenstein on here?
You know, the
It's
people.
the Frankenstein 1910 is not here. If it's on here, it's under a title I can't find. I've typed in Edison's Frankenstein. I've typed in Frankenstein 1910. I'll put parentheses, no parentheses.
What about
Not on
IMDb?
there.
The
Not on
IMDb?
there. Now, IMDb once again proves that it really actually is the Internet Movie Database, and Rotten
Awesome.
Tomatoes is a disgusting novelty site, which was proven recently. I have to keep saying that because I still run into people who put, yeah, Rotten Tomatoes. It has this score on Rotten Tomatoes. I better see it. That must mean it's good.
So,
So
it's sidetrack. I wonder how people feel now that they know that now, and a lot of good movies that they missed out on.
that's a good question. You know what? And this is a sad thing to say. I think the majority of people don't care. I mean, quite honestly, I think the majority of people don't care about Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, true.
But there are those people. You are right. There are those people who do that, and maybe they're hurt. Maybe they're ignoring that. But
Yeah.
there is a score for Frankenstein on IMDb. So they have a star rating up to 10. So you can guess that.
Um, it being one of the first, I want to give it. I want to say they gave it at least a 5, at least. At least one
Wow,
of the
very
first.
good.
One of
Very
the
good.
first.
It is a 6.4.
Whoa!
And if I'm reading their number right, it's over 4,000 rating.
Dang.
So there you have it. Now, with this movie, have you seen this before?
Never seen it before. No.
Yeah, have you seen it before we started talking about doing these
Oh
shows?
no, no, I haven't. No, I didn't. I
Oh,
didn't
very
know.
good.
I didn't know about.
You,
I didn't know.
yeah, I have seen this before we were
You
talking
had.
about those. I had seen it, and
Well, well,
because
well,
I had
Joe.
read for what
I'm gonna say you was in film school, so.
I did, yeah, and I mean, really, I am not kidding. I really will. We say this on the show.
Hmm.
I have always been interested in what was the first movie that did this and that, and where did that come from, and why do they do this in movie,
Hmm. Hmm.
and what built movies to what they are today. What is that foundation? And this is one of those. This is a foundation for the movies right here. This movie here is a foundation for horror movies.
Yeah.
I love horror movies, so
Uh,
I'm going to watch all horror movies from all eras.
yeah.
And I mean, that's not something I say on this show. I do that. You've known me long enough to know I'm crazy enough to do that stuff.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
So maybe on this show, and you and I said this before too. Maybe on this show, we're going to talk about this, and maybe somebody out there is going to go, "I didn't know anything about this 1910 Frankenstein." Maybe they
Yeah.
only knew. Maybe they only knew the Universal 1931 Frankenstein, and maybe they're like, "Holy crap, there was another one. Well, I kind of want to see that."
Well, I
And
kind
maybe
of
they'll go
believe.
back and see that.
I kind of
That's what
believe they
we're
think that's
doing.
the first.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're doing here. We're trying to open up. Hey, there's more out there, people. There's not just these movies. 31 Frankenstein is fantastic, and we're going to talk about that.
Oh yeah.
But look at everything else too. So I thought for a long time that the Edison's Frankenstein, as I've always known it as, was the first horror film.
There
Well,
was.
recently, since we've been digging into more stuff, I found out that there is a George Millay movie that is
Yeah.
considered the first horror film, and I sent that to you. That was 1896.
Yep.
That which is what was that about 3 4 minutes long?
Uh, yeah. No,
Now
one
he,
and three, yeah. About
yeah,
four.
it's real. It's just fascinating to me to see the early stuff like that. I mean, especially because George Millay really didn't make that stuff to scare people. He wasn't really trying to scare people. It was more
Yeah,
trying to amuse. And he was doing a lot of trick photography. He was a magician.
yeah.
That's what he was doing. He's trying to fill people with a sense of awe and wonder and to amuse. So I mean,
And you know what?
I don't really care if people think this is the first horror film or that. I mean, that one, what was that called? The Devil's Castle?
Yeah,
Uh,
The Devil's House.
Shame
Something like
on
that.
me. I can't remember the title right now. It wasn't that long
It's
ago.
it's The Devil's
I
House.
watched it.
But I mean, with George Millay, he kind of opened. Well, if you look at majority of his movies, there's only like 250 of them left. It used to be 500, but
Yeah.
majority of them did was like more of a fantasy horror type thing that was going on. And some
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
say he's like the father, I mean, the grandfather of I said side effects. Wow. Uh,
Yeah, he's
of special
definitely
effects.
he is definitely one of the pioneers, founding fathers of special effects.
Yeah. Because I mean,
Absolutely. I mean, that's you
it was
know,
really good.
I you just said I went to film school
Hmm. Hmm.
and that was like the early 90s, mid early 90s. And in
Right.
film school, and I'm sure it's the same today, it might be a little bit different just because of the MCU, but back then I could throw a rock in a group of people and in anybody in that group it would hit, that is the biggest Star Wars fan in the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
It didn't matter. I could throw a rock to my left and hit a group of people. That's the biggest Star. I could turn to the right and throw a rock. That's the biggest Star Wars fan in the world. And that's one of the reasons I started getting irritated with Star Wars was because every single person I would run into, I'm the biggest Star Wars fan in the world. No, I'm the biggest Star Wars fan. Oh, I'm the biggest Star Wars fan in the world. And then there was a couple of dudes who actually would go, they would die by this. Star Wars is the creation of special effects.
No, I'm not.
I was like, what about King Kong? I mean, you just let's go to the obvious one. I was like, what
Right.
about King Kong? Well, I mean, and then they'd go back and go, I mean, realistic special effects and stuff like that. I'm like, what does that even mean?
Like, what is realistic special effect?
It's a giant ape. Well, I mean, right there, realism is out the door, and they're just, but that's
Yeah.
guy. There was a tangent we talked about. Maybe we'll do tangent. Here we go. But if you and there, this does tie into the movie. This tangent, of course, there is special effects in this movie. This is 1910, and we're talking about
Hmm.
George Millay, and that one was 1896, and he did special effects in this movie.
Yes, he did.
Um, there isn't, there's not, and even Star Wars didn't really have computer effects. They used some computers to help them do things to make the movie, but not like we think of today.
Yeah, I
Um,
got in an argument with
but
somebody about that because it was like 1973. Star Wars was the first to use CGI, and I was like, okay, but it was really, 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 really small, and it was only the
um,
showing the diagram of the
wait,
Death
wait.
Star.
Did you say they said Star Wars was 1973?
Yeah, they did.
Did they say that?
Yeah, they did.
Well, they're wrong because it
I
didn't
know
come
that
out
they
in
said.
73.
I know when it came out.
Well, go tell them it came out not in 1973.
But
Tell them that.
I don't want to because they're gonna listen to the show, so they get schooled that way.
You go tell them that they're wrong. It's not that difficult nowadays to figure out when movies came out. How do you sit there and go, oh, it came out in 19? Said no, it didn't come out in 1973.
Or they was telling me about the CGI special effects thing, and I'm like, I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, you got Westworld that
Yeah, well,
had computer effects in it.
so that's what I was fighting with because we just
We
did.
had that.
Actually, it was just because we did that show for Westworld, and we was talking about that.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. But anyway,
Yeah,
this what is this movie about? we, we
about
didn't get there.
Frankenstein.
So okay, so here is the plot synopsis here. The first film version of Frankenstein, the young doctor discovers the secret of life, which he uses to create a perfect human. Things do not go according to plan. Basically, the book. I mean,
Yeah,
that little
basically.
synopsis there. This was six. It is 16 minutes long. Rather, you can find this on YouTube. Multiple different
Versions of it.
versions. But you can find it and you can watch it. I did find a pretty decent version. I'll put a link in the show notes for that. You watched the same one I watched, the same version I watched. Is
I
that
watched the
right?
color version.
I can't believe you did that. You
It was
you
the only one that was. It was like very clear.
found man. I'll send you the version I watched. It's not color. It
It's
might
probably
have
not
some.
clear.
It might have some color tint to it, but it's a very good
Well, I
version.
mean, it's a color tint. I mean, it wasn't like perfect, but I
It
mean,
was
it was
more
color tint.
a
But
sepia
it was what,
sepia tone.
sepia tone.
Yeah, very golden type looking.
No, this actually had actual color to it.
Oh, then we didn't watch the same version. I'll have to send that to you after we get done recording this, and then I will definitely put the link to the version I watched in the show notes. This is a very good version. But yeah, 16 minutes long. Well, Brandon, I guess the first thing is how well does this follow the book at 16 minutes?
It don't.
Yeah, so this one takes so this one takes the main beats of the book.
Yeah.
And by that, I'm talking about Frankenstein leaves. Frankenstein goes into seclusion, creates the monster. Frankenstein comes home. The monster rampages a little bit, and the movie ends. Right.
Yeah.
So that's about it. So this was directed. So this was the Edison company that did this. We've been calling it Edison's Frankenstein without any explanation
Well, I mean,
as
he
to
produced
why
it.
we call it that. So this was produced by Thomas Edison Studios.
Well, they just said it just says
This
produced by Thomas Edison.
Yeah, this was directed by J. Searle Dolly. He was a well, it says he was a prolific director, but he worked for Edison Studios. So Charles Ogle played the monster,
Yes,
and Augustus Phillips played Dr. Frankenstein, and Mary Fuller is
the
it,
doctor's fiance.
his bride. Yeah. So that was she even named in this version, Elizabeth?
I don't think
They
they
probably
ever
didn't even say
named.
her name in this
Yeah,
version.
I don't think they say their name.
So very condensed version of the story, but the basic story is there.
Very basic.
The special effects now, this is like probably the best part of the movie for me. Do you know what I'm getting at? The creation of the monster.
Yeah, I like the.
Remember that?
Well, yeah,
Do you like that?
I loved it. It was. It
That is,
studying films for a long time. You'll see special effects are just so amazing how they did it back then.
yeah. So that was very cool.
Yeah,
This one, the monster, the monster is created, not stitched together from body.
body parts.
So it just kind of Frankenstein uses like these chemicals and these potions, right? Some type of
Mm,
stuff.
the big old
So
cauldron.
yeah, according to what I found, the creation scene was made by filming a monster dummy burning and then playing the footage backwards.
Yeah,
Simple, yet
yeah,
very effective.
yeah. I mean, that's like special effects 101, basically.
Yeah, I mean it's very effective, and I think it looks very cool.
And it looks very gruesome.
You'd say gruesome?
Yeah, because when you starting to see them start to well, when you start to see them form up, you see the skeleton. Then you start seeing the skeleton arms start to move, and you see all this like
Mm-hmm.
plant-like gush on him. It was like, ugh, like can you
Yeah.
imagine if you actually was creating something like that and watching it? I freak out
Yeah.
too.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So what happens in the movie after the monster's created? Does he just run off like he does in the book?
No, so
Well, what I mean, who runs? I mean, does the doctor run off?
well, I mean,
See the monster and go, "Oh,
he
what
runs
have
off
I
to his
done?"
room.
Okay, so yeah, like he did in the book. He did. That is very true to the book. He looks at the monster and he gets very upset about the way the monster looks, and he
Hmm.
runs to his room and falls asleep.
Yeah,
And that's what he does in this movie.
yeah,
Hey, that's true to the book.
yeah. Well, only problem,
That's true to the book. That part, that little bit.
yeah, because the monster did come into the room,
Yep.
but that was
So
really, really brief though. But yeah,
so what I mean the rest of it, what happens in the rest of it? You want to give a brief rundown of the rest of it?
yeah. So Frankenstein gets up. He goes back to, I want to say, is it Geneva? I want to say Geneva. So he goes back to
You could,
he goes back home.
you
I
could
should say that. He goes
yeah.
back home, and he sees his fiance, meets his father, and everybody's happy he's home. And then he's sitting in his study, um, and then the monster shows up, and he freaks
Mm,
out. But when you see it, and I like the camera effect on how they did it, because you focusing on the mirror more than you focusing on Frankenstein sitting in the chair.
mm.
And then you can see the monster, and Frankenstein sees the reflection and he's like, "Oh," and I was like, dang. But then he tried to hide the monster, throw the hide the monster behind like a screen or whatever, and because his fiance was coming in, and the monster seen her, and of course he comes out and he's looking around. Frankenstein's telling him to leave. He needs to go, and after that, they go have, I think it was like a wedding party or something like that. And then he comes back home, and if I'm correct, and I might be wrong, but then Frankenstein comes home, and I guess he sees his reflection in the mirror, but he also sees the reflection of the monster in the mirror. Like it was telling a tale, like, you are that monster. You are what you have created. And then it kind of like fades
Mm.
out.
And it's over.
That's it. It's only 15 minutes, only
I
14
mean, that's
minutes.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. It's pretty fascinating to watch this.
It is just the fact that I wonder if they had a longer time frame, how would have played out.
I doubt it.
You know, I wonder what would have happened, how far would have went, because he didn't kill anybody in it.
No, he didn't. For a long time, this movie was thought to be lost.
I heard that.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
yeah. So, let me see where is that? Okay, so it says that it was listed as missing for a long time. No copies were known to exist. There were some still photos of Mr. Ogle and the monster makeup, and then finally, a print turned up in Wisconsin in the mid '70s.
nice.
So now we have it.
You know
Um,
what? Now that you say that, I think this is the same thing that happened with George Millay.
yeah, a lot of that. Yeah, that you're right.
I think they found it like in Wisconsin or Wyoming or something like that.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, what do you think? How do you think the monster looked?
It was awesome.
This movie? Yeah.
Yeah, it was a gruesome monster. I'd be terrified of it straight up.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think it looked really cool and was really effective for what they were doing
Oh yeah.
with this. I mean, he's got man. I mean, he's almost what like a hunchback, almost, little hunched over a bit.
Yeah, he like a, well, yeah. He like a tall hunchback with gigantic feet and long dangly arms and fingers.
Yeah, he's you would not want to see that in a dark alley. Or
No, no, you would not catch me.
I mean,
Uh,
the only place you actually might see this is like on that People of Walmart website. That he might be on there.
well, the other.
Yeah, you might see one of
Wow,
those. but,
wow.
but yeah, he's I think he's pretty scary looking, pretty effective looking. And you know what? Another thing that I know you and I try to remember this, but we need to say this out loud. I think, especially talking about a movie this old.
Yeah,
I think you need to stop and not compare this to what you're seeing today. I mean, does that make sense?
no, it makes perfect sense.
It's like you look at
Um,
that monster and you go, "Man, it looks. I think this monster looks good from this movie." Like, well, that was done with today's technology.
well, I'm looking at I had looked up the monster from Thomas
Yeah,
Edison. They have a figure. They have a figure model for him,
yeah,
and the way he looks now, when you can see it in full detail, dude,
yeah,
he looks ferociously crazy.
yeah,
Yeah, with the hair and the face, and his hands look kind of decayed, and some skin is there. It looks pretty gruesomely awesome to me.
yeah. Oh, yeah. So you would recommend this to people?
I would, if you're a true horror fan, you got to go back and look at what started. It went from the books and from the books to the screen, so it's a good thing to look at. Seeing
Absolutely. So
different
this
time
one
periods,
is,
interpretations of it.
yeah. So this one, the book came out in 1818, we said, and it took almost 100 years to get a movie made.
Pretty much, pretty much,
That's not fair. There weren't movies didn't exist then, but
pretty much. Well, I mean, yeah, it wasn't, but
but I mean, yeah, really, what I think I mean to say is like it's just kind of interesting that two of the first two early horror movies are Frankenstein and Dracula, because
yeah,
10, 12 years later there came Nosferatu.
yeah,
And somebody, which we talked about also, had made a movie with the Dracula character's name in it before Nosferatu.
yeah,
So it's like people were already like, they just knew somehow. They just knew these were going to be something.
yeah. I mean, the books was very famous back then, and all of us heard those tales being kids during Halloween. So, you know, it's good to see that somebody put them on screen. You know,
Absolutely. So, in terms of the best version of, like one of the things we're doing again, is this is not the best movie version
no, no,
telling the story of the novel, but as far as the main beats, I mean, and like super high looking down beats, of the movie of the book, it gets a lot of that stuff right, just
yeah,
those things.
and I can't really say too much on it. Didn't follow the book all the way. I mean, it was only a 14-minute movie, so they just took bits and pieces that they think that will, do the shock and awe to the audience.
Yeah, yeah,
That's how I
absolutely.
see it. That's how I see it.
I I, I agree. Um, well, I'm just really excited to get into the other movies also. I mean,
Oh yeah, this other movie is gonna be a hoot.
yeah, I mean we've got of course we got the Universal ones we're going to do. The At least we're going to do Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein. We're going to do those two because those, you put those together and those try to tell the story of the book. We're going to get through the
Hmm.
Hammer,
Oh
the
yeah,
first Hammer one, the Curse of Frankenstein,
Curtis of Frankenstein.
and then the other ones will just kind of make a surprise.
Yeah, yeah, and I think the audience like when we do surprises, don't you guys?
Yeah, they like a little bit of Surprise.
But
Yeah.
yeah, it's this is the kickoff, guys, to the month of Frankenstein.
That's right. And wow. So stay tuned. We will be back with this. Do you got any final thoughts, or was that it? Your
Yeah, no,
final?
I got one for you. So, hey guys, if you like our show, you know you guys watch us on YouTube and you listen to us on Spotify. So please like, subscribe, click the notice, the note. I can't even say it. Click the bell. Okay, you know what I'm talking about. Click that. Follow us. Leave comments, and that's it. That's all I got.
All right. We'll talk to you all next time.
Later, guys.